We generally use data to give us information on something and to help us make more informed decisions. However, human beings aren't very good at looking at a set of numbers and working out whether there is a trend or whether something looks unusual. This is where charts are invaluable. To adapt the old adage of a picture paints 1,000 words, in sheets, a chart paints 1,000 numbers. One chart can instantaneously tell you what's going on with the data. There are two ways to create charts in Google Sheets. One is the more traditional approach, i.e. making a big chart from the data and either putting it on your sheet or as a separate sheet, which we'll see in later videos. Or the other is inserting mini graphs right next to your data to show what's going on. These mini graphs are called Sparklines. Let's see how to make them. Here we have the monthly sales of 5 products, A to E. The sales manager wants to know how well each product is doing. First, let's add a sparkline in cell B16, which will show the trend of product A across the year. Adding sparklines is the same as adding a function. Type the following into cell B16 equals sparkline open brackets, B3 colon, B14 close brackets. As you can see, this produces a little line graph in the cell which displays the product A data. Now we want to do the same for the other products, but instead of typing in the sparkline function again, we can just copy it across like any other function and formula. Click on the cell and grab the little blue circle in the bottom right-hand corner of the cell and drag it to cell G16. Now we have trends for each of the products, and we can easily see which products' sales are falling, and the sales manager can take some action. If we want to increase the X or Y axis of the sparklines, maybe to see the chart in more detail, we just increase the row height or column width. Sparklines are therefore excellent for giving you a quick insight into what's happening with your data and are really easy to set up. Also, as they are small, they are great for using in dashboards where you may have lots of different data sets all on one sheet. For example, here we have a simple dashboard, which is looking at the previous sheet of data. It's looking at the sales from January to June and from July to December. It was quick to set up. I added the sparkline formula in column B, looking at sheet 1 for the first period, and then for the second period. Then I just selected the 2 cells and dragged them over to column G to create the other graphs. We can control how the sparkline looks by adding some options to the sparkline function. The initial graphs we've made are fine for seeing the sales trends, but what happens if we want to compare the products with each other? There's a problem. The maximum sales for each graph are different. So, for example, product B's maximum is 150, whereas C's is only 90, yet the graphs look like they have sold the same amount in December. This is because the y-axis is different for each graph. So to be able to compare the sales of each product with each other, we need the same y-axis for each of the graphs. So let's set the minimum and maximum value of the y-axis. So all of them are the same. This is where we add a set of options to the graphs within the function. In B17, type the same function as before, except without the last bracket. Now let's add the options. These are always within curly brackets. Usually the options are in pairs, the name of the setting, and then the value. Note the syntax. After the range, there's a comma, then open curly brackets, then ymax in speech marks, comma, then 150. There are no speech marks needed for 150 as it's a number. Then to add a second set of options, write a semicolon,
then Wyman in speech marks, comma, then the value 30. Note, the semicolon separates the Wymax setting and the Wyman setting. Then close the options with a closed curly bracket, and then close the function with a closed bracket. On its own, the new graph doesn't tell us anything different. So let's copy and drag it as before along the row, this time until the product E column. Now we can compare the graphs with each other. If we look at the third one, we can now see that product C's sales are lower than product B's. We can also change the way the line looks in terms of line color and line thickness. In B18 type, equals sparkline, open bracket, B3 colon, B14 comma, open curly bracket, color in speech marks, comma, red in speech marks, close curly bracket and closed bracket. Now we have a red line. There is another way to change the color of the line. We just change the font color of that cell. First, I'll copy the formula from our original sparkline and paste it in this cell. Then I change the font color. Note, you can't change a color in this way if you've already set it in the function. Let's see how we change the line thickness. In B20 type, equals sparkline open bracket, B3 colon B14 comma, open curly bracket, line width in speech marks, comma, 3, close curly bracket, and close bracket. Press enter, and this time we have a thicker line. The higher the number, the thicker the line. So as you can see, we can quickly edit the way the graphs look just by adding more options. By default, the sparkline function will create a line graph, but there are times when other types of charts are more suitable. There are 4 types of charts to choose from: line, column, stacked bar, win-loss. To change the chart type, we just add a pair of settings like we did before. Let's add a column chart. In cell BT1, type the sparkline function, and this time in the options type. Chart type in speech marks, comma, column in speech marks. This time we have the data represented in a column chart. There are lots of other options you can use. Let's add red to the lowest sales figure and green to the highest one. We need to add 2 extra options for the high color and low color. Type in the formula in cell B22. We add the option low color and assign it the red color, and the high color and assign it green. You can write this option pairings in any order. In this limited data, it's pretty obvious which is the lowest and which is the highest, but you can see how it can be used. The sales manager has decided to focus on product C and wants to see the month-to-month differences. This time he wants to color the times there was a negative movement in sales in red. Use the option neg color and assign a color. As you can see, it's very clear when there was negative movement in the sales. Alternatively, if he just wanted to know in which months there were either negative or positive movements, without worrying about the actual sales figures, he could have used a win-loss graph. In C15, use the chart type win-loss. As you can see in the bottom graph, you can see when there was either a positive or negative movement in the sales.